all the things that, you know, all the nice things you said in the beginning of this podcast are most of the reasons I wanted to come to Rutgers. This coaching staff can get it done. They can get guys progressing from their high school career, from wherever they're at, and get them to where they want to get to. And in my eyes, it was like success, because I wanted to be the first national champ, and I got to be the second.
And the Scarlet Knights did not have a national champion before tonight, and it's RU times 2.
What's up, everybody? John Forster here, right down from the barn. We're on episode 50. We started this a couple years ago. We got to 50. Good stuff. With me, the greatest mind in wrestling, Eric Winnuck, and we had to bring in a big guest for episode 50. We got national champion, four-time New Jersey state champion, and Olympic hopeful Anthony Ashnault on the call today. How's it going, Anthony?
It's going great. Grateful to be on episode 50, and you guys thinking that I'm a big deal to be on episode 50. I appreciate that, but it's cool. It's cool to follow you guys along on Instagram. I love seeing the updates, especially like with the busy training and competition schedule myself. I'm on different time zones sometimes. Right now I'm in Georgia, 9 hours ahead, so it's nice to see your guys' Instagram always keeping us updated as Rutgers fans, and now you guys are expanding. New Jersey fans, I guess you'd say, or wrestling fans in general, but it's awesome to see you guys growing, and it's just authentic, so I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. And real quick, John, I got to say this because he goes, thanks for calling me a big deal. I can tell you, as someone who's been coaching youth wrestling for like 8 years now, when I first got started, the connection you made with a lot of the youth wrestlers with the Ashnault, apparel and all that stuff, you and Nikki a little bit too, but what you've done for young wrestlers in Jersey, okay, more so them than us, I think made a huge impact on growing the sport in Jersey and just giving somebody local that they can connect with, that they can see, that they can make a personal connection with, wearing all the outfits, the shirts, the sweatpants. So yeah, I can tell you right now, Anthony, someone who coaches youth wrestling, you've been a big deal for the last 7-8 years. So kudos on your side.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Anthony, a little bit more on that. I'm not going to mention the names, but I know people that were big deals, maybe not at national champ level, but all Americans at other schools. And they're like, man, my son's Anthony Ashnault fan now. He's a Rutgers fan. I hate it, but now they're bringing him to Rutgers matches and stuff. So that's good stuff. You did do a lot for the youth wrestling, and a lot of, you look at me, I'm 46 years old. I got an Anthony Ashnault poster in my office right here. So we're good to go. We're going to get into that national title. That was an awesome event. But why don't you tell us what you're doing now? You're in Georgia, not the state Georgia. Some people mix those up. You're overseas in Georgia. What are you doing now with your training?
Yeah, now I'm out in Georgia, in the city, Gori, Gori, and the main connection here is Lado Kinchesvili, Olympic champ, 2016 for them. He's the mayor in this town, so if you do well in wrestling in a country like this, they take care of you. And he wrestled for the NYCRTC here and there, and he definitely took a lot of training trips to New York City. So that's our connection out here, and the hospitality these individuals, not just the wrestlers, just the Georgians, show me and some of my other teammates that have been out here. It's just amazing. And I've been out here since February 3rd, and I'm staying out in Georgia until March 7th. And then from here, I'm going to a tournament in Turkey, the country, which is like not right next door, but pretty close by. And I'll compete in the Yazar Dogu March 9th, which is a tournament I've competed in before.
Yep.
And it's not a ranking tournament this year, but it's my last chance to compete before the last chance Olympic trials qualifier, which is everything for me in my competition life right now. And this just feels right being out here. I'm a little isolated. I'm not the most comfortable, but it is comfortable because these guys are that nice and that hospitable, making sure I have everything. And life's different here. They don't have the simple things that we take for granted in America. No dryer for your clothes, really no washer either, unless you're paying for it. But a lot of washing my clothes in the sink, hanging them to dry, little things like that.
Hanging the shirt on the rock. Come on now.
Yeah, it sounds silly to these guys, but little things like that, it just I love it. I love getting to a place like this and just making life a lot more simple. And in terms of my wrestling career, this feels like just like what I needed. Leaving Rutgers about 2 years ago to come to New York City RTC. For me, it was about growth. It was about growth in wrestling and trying to become the best wrestler in the world, win the Olympics, best wrestler for myself. And it was a lot of growth outside of wrestling too. And taking trips like this and other trips I've taken like this, it's amazing. So much perspective gained just inside of wrestling, outside of wrestling. It's everything I really wanted.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to get into some of that stuff later on. But what I'm thinking about, and keep me honest here, Anthony, because I could have my timeline wrong, but I almost feel like that year where you were injured and that year before your 6th year, I think you were overseas as well. You're in Eastern Europe doing some wrestling before you actually won that national championship. So it's almost like a little deja vu. It's almost like you got to revisit your past to be able to, be successful. So that's what I think of, just before the national championship, you did something similar.
Definitely. I went to Kazakhstan for like a month with Athletes in Action, a Christian group. And it was great. Kazakhstan at that time, I was not even 21 years old yet, I don't think. And it was a shock. That was my first trip where I was like, it was a shock for me. And now I'm a lot more comfortable traveling to places like this and that. But yeah, it's definitely deja vu, taking myself back to mentally what is going to make me click to perform my best or go out there and give my best effort and show my best potential in wrestling. So I'm just tying all those mental cues that helped in the past and adding some new ones. And definitely, I'm not recreating the past, but definitely trying to spark things that I've done well and inside and outside of wrestling, whether it's books I've read, trying to fire things up mentally and then wrestling wise, these workouts are no joke and these athletes are no joke. I'm wrestling athletes 18 years old all the way up to my age, older than me. But these guys wrestle for something a little bit different. They're wrestling, I don't want to say for their life, but winning for them is a lot bigger of a deal than people in America, and they bring it every day in practice like that. And I was sharing some stories off camera about how hard the coaches could be on these guys, and it makes the athletes bring it every single day. They're coming to prove it to their coach, they're coming to prove it to each other, and they want to be the next Lado Kinchasvili, mayor of Gori here. So it's awesome. That trip to Kazakhstan when I was in college was awesome, and every time I get the opportunity now, it's just as great. And then with wrestling right now, I'm just looking to get great partners and consistency back in my wrestling. I'm feeling great, but I haven't been competing as great as I'd like to be. So really, it's just getting myself back to not being comfortable in the uncomfortable, but going through some uncomfortable training, just getting used to being in that red zone and how to push through it.
Well, you're right. You start living the good life. You've had success. You talk about being an American wrestler. I mean, kids got their iPhones, all the different stuff that we take for granted. That you're right. You go out there and that's their life, and they wrestle hard. I can say, and we're going to the next question, but when you came back from that in your national championship year, I personally thought your mat wrestling was superior. It was the year before. I think you were a little bit hard nosed. I think it made a huge impact, and I could definitely see that happen again. But you're talking about being out in Georgia. You're talking about kind of putting your head to the grind. Why don't you talk about more specifically preparation for the Olympics? Is it different than your collegiate career, your youth wrestling career? Specifically, what is it about training for the Olympics and the senior circuit that may be different, or that maybe your perspective?
Well, 100%. For me, I was a great mat wrestler. So, I get a takedown, I'm looking to get to a wrist, and I'm staying on top of you for 2 minutes. And in freestyle wrestling, not that was a break, because I love to work on top, but there is no break. You're back on your feet within 15 seconds and it's go time again. And you're hand fighting hard. And if you score on a really good guy, when he gets back to his feet, he's trying to come back and score on you. And the one thing is I don't have the top. That's the huge adjustment. So learning how to use my top skills. And I feel like for the first time, I'm not just for the first time, like this competition year, I'm on the brink of some offense on the top parterre and freestyle, and it's more tied in with my folk style stuff, and I'm excited to use it, but I got to get myself on top of some of these guys to use it. And it's taken way more years than it took me folk style, maybe. I mean, I started wrestling when I was 4, so I say that, but really from 4 years old till 24, I had 20 years to
Your brain's
master
wired to
folk
do
style.
certain things. I know.
Yeah, so it's
Physically.
like it maybe only feels like 18 years old to 24, like that college time, but really, my parents were so good to me. They took me to great coaches, great training partners. I was able to master the folk style sport over a span of 15 to 20 years. So it's time, it's transitioning those folk style skills to more freestyle savvy. And it's using the same edge that I had in folk style and like learning how to turn that into like pushing through in different ways in freestyle, scoring on my feet, getting back to my feet and scoring again. And not, you know, not looking for other things, not looking to coast, not looking to
Yep.
hang out in a tie, not looking to put my butt on the edge, where in folk style you could put a foot out of bounds, So a lot of little things, just cleaning up. And really what it looks like for me right now on my Olympic run is putting pieces to the puzzle together, like I'm saying, as well as just believing in myself. I'm really good at wrestling and I know it, but I got to go show it and go do it. So it's coming out here because I know they were going to train really hard and I know I was going to get a lot of practice live matches. So it gives me that opportunity to like put my foot on the line and figure it out. Cause I have 2 months. Well, I had like when I came out here, it was like 2 months till my last chance Olympic qualifier trials tournament in America. So in my head, it was 2 months. Let's put my foot on the line and figure out how to be an animal for 6 minutes and be offensive for 6 whole minutes.
Yep.
Not that I had to figure it out from scratch because I feel like I'm knocking on the door, but it was just about getting back to the consistency of doing it every day, Monday through Saturday, with guys that are coming from my head as well.
Yeah.
And I had a great situation in New York. I have a great situation in New York, but it's awesome that my situation in New York has connections like this that allow me to even take it a step further. And, for the first 10 days I was here, I was training with the Georgia national team and I got to wrestle with the guy that the 65 kilo wrestler that he just lost the bronze medal match to Kizmaz Clark in the last couple seconds of the match. He was a stud. And then I wrestled a lot with the 70 kilo guy who took a silver medal at the Europeans. And then my teammate at NYCRT, Avtok Chesney, he took a bronze medal at 79 kilos. And I sparred more with him, not as much like live wrestling, but, coming out here in their 10-day training camp, I probably got between that 70 kilo and 65 kilo wrestler that is their number one guys. I got probably 4 matches altogether with those guys. And it's something I feel like I needed to just show me, okay, this attack's working. All right, this attack's needs to get better. Okay, I need to pull the trigger 100% in this moment. All these little things are really coming together. And going back to like you asking me, like just coming out here, what's so great about learning out here, or what's the fast track trajectory when you come out to a place like this? It's like, to me, it's the downtime. The simplicity of I go to training twice a day, but other than that, I'm on a different time zone, so I'm not really like on my phone 24/7. I'm taking notes on my wrestling a whole heck of a lot more and really focus notes on, okay, this guy, this was working. This guy's a lefty and these shots were working for me. This guy's a righty and these shots were working for me.
Right.
Oh, all of a sudden my front headlock's developing. Let me take a couple notes on what this coach taught me today. And not that I'm not doing that in America, but it's a whole heck of a lot easier out here to manage those things.
Well, listen to you, Anthony, and this is something I think to give people perspective who are casual wrestling fans, what differentiates wrestling than I think football, baseball, even hockey or some of these other sports, the necessity for variation in your training partners is almost some ways superior to facilities or coaching staffs. It's going out there and, as you said, sparring with the right people. And I think that's what makes combat sports so unique. And everything you're saying is no different than that youth wrestler is like, I want to be part of that club because I need a different feel. I got to work with that kind of guy. You get to college. I got to be at this college because it's the right partner for me. And it's the same thing with you. You had to make moves. You had to move on. It's nothing personal, but you've got to get the certain feel. You've got to be able to work certain things out. I don't think you see that in other sports. I could be wrong, but that's been my take. And I think everything you're describing kind of lends that fact that that's what makes combat sports unique, especially wrestling.
Yeah, I mentioned it before. My parents did a heck of a job, like raising me and giving me as much opportunity as possible. But that's how my wrestling career, my baseball career, that's how it was growing up. I would take a loss at a random tournament, and I would go to New Jersey Wrestling Tournaments.com and find out where that kid was from and try to print out a tournament in that kid's area, whether it was Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and beg my mom or dad to take me.
Nice.
And that's how I started training with Zane Rutherford as a kid. I wrestled him, figured out he trained with Chertow. I started going to Chertow camp. My brother went to Lock Haven before Rutgers. I was 7 years younger than him. I got the opportunity to go train at Lock Haven. Then it was close to Penn State. So I was like, can I go to Penn State? So that's how I was raised, always chasing the next guy, chasing the next step, chasing the next level. And, I just think this is exactly what I needed, what I wanted, so everything works out for a reason. And, I'm very, very happy in my life, and it just feels really right. So winning or losing, taking that out of it, I'm just very happy in general. So this is the life I wanted to live as a wrestler. And it's great, man. It makes me feel like this sport is professional, even though we're not really a professional sport. This is what I dreamed of as a kid.
Getting that way, Anthony. People are getting paid now. It's getting that way, but I don't want to go down that path.
Yep. So we posted this yesterday on Instagram. We got a couple questions coming in, and you kind of touched on one of them. Just a little more in depth. Matt Eaton was asking, when you got your start, about 4, and then other sports that you played, and when did you make that transition into being more of a full-time year-round wrestler? When did that happen? And just walk us through coming up early in wrestling.
I always competed summertime tournaments. I didn't always train consistently throughout the whole summer. All the way through freshman year, like up to sophomore year, I played baseball, and I played summer, like not AAU, but like South Plainfield had a great baseball program. So our summer all-star team, we traveled, we competed versus good teams up to 12 years old. And then I don't even know if American Legion baseball is around anymore, but even in high school, my freshman year, I started on the freshman team. I played American Legion in the summer, and I didn't really want to play, but I remember the coach like just sitting me down and saying, hey, if you want a chance to maybe make the varsity team or be make the team next year, this is the only chance. You can't not play Legion ball. So I played Legion. I remember my freshman year summer, and I started begging my parents to go to cadet duels for freestyle, and I wanted to go to Fargo, and I started wanting to win Fargo. That freshman year, I took round of 12 at Super 32. I wanted to go back the next year at Super 32 after being a freshman state champion. I wanted to win that. And all my goals just started becoming a lot larger once I won freshman states. And all my attention was on that freshman state title. But, after I won the freshman states, my world opened up to, can I be a national champ? Can I be an Olympic champ? And I wanted to be. So it was like, Dad, I love baseball. Mom, I love baseball, but this is what I want to do. I want to be great in wrestling. So can I just go all in wrestling? And my mom's first reaction was like, all right, well, you're going to have to do another sport then. So I played golf through high school, and golf was a lot more laid back. The coach kind of used me as a show pony a little bit. There would be 5 starters, 4, maybe 6 starters, 4 people, 4 guys' scores counted on the scorecard. So I was like the 5th, 6th guy that played with coach on the trip, on away matches. They allowed me a lot of times if I needed to miss practice for an important wrestling practice or the weekend for a wrestling trip, it was no problem. And that was great because it taught me how to play golf moving into adulthood. And I'm still super average, not too good, but I have, a base for it. And, you could always play golf. You could always use that. It's a fun thing to do. A lot of my friends are picking it up now that I grew up with in South Plainfield, which is funny because none of them wanted to play in high school. None of them even really wanted to play much in college when we were in college. And now they're all working full time, and they're sneaking off on Tuesday night league at 4:00. And now I'm the one that can't go play. So I'm excited to, to get back with them whenever wrestling does wind down, because now it's like, now we're adults. I'm 28 years old, and life's a little different. So I'm glad I got that golf base. I'm looking forward to going to show my friends. I haven't really got to play with some of my high school friends, like my wrestling friends, Troy Holman, Scott Delvecchio, Tyler Hunt. Those dudes have been playing the last 2 years a lot. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting after those guys on the course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's funny.
listen,
I can't. Yeah.
don't leave wrestling though, because
Yep.
Highlight Humphrey and Brucky, they got the old man wrestling going on, so you can still do
Yeah,
that when you're old too.
I love it. I love that, man. I hope
Yeah,
they
but
keep growing that.
not everybody can wrestle when they're 46, 47. You can play golf until you're 70, 80, and you got to work on that short game to be able to compete with Goodell, because I hear rumors that he's quite the player. At least he says
Yeah,
it about himself.
He is. I got to play with him a lot while I was at Rutgers, and he is quite the player. He's good.
Yep. So speaking about golfers, my old college roommate, Chris Tonzola, who also used to hit the sticks a little bit, he had a question for me, for us. Why didn't you follow in your pop's footsteps, and you didn't consider being, a Bishop Ahr wrestler, and not being a Trojan over a Tiger? So talk us through that.
I didn't know he was your college roommate. That's cool. There's a couple things I did consider it. I went to freshman for a day, so he's lying. I met with the athletic director. I hung out in the school for a whole day, following a person around, sitting in classrooms. At the end of the day, though, I had a bunch of savages that were in the same grade as me in South Plainfield that we grew up wrestling together, playing Pop Warner football, baseball. And it's like, I didn't want to leave my best friends, who I also knew were going to be super successful, because we were all already winning pretty big tournaments in wrestling. So I was like, no, I want to be with my friends. I want to go to the school I grew up in. And that was that. My parents did give me the option to look at schools I wanted to go to. Give me the option if I really, really wanted to go to Blair. And that was pretty quickly a no. But I did have those thoughts, and they were shut down pretty quickly by myself. But I considered all options, and it was really just the best fit to be at South Plainfield. It was awesome. I had great partners, amazing tradition. You go to a South Plainfield match, there's nothing like when we were in our prime. There was nothing like it at the time. Yep. There's a spotlight, people banging the bleachers, Ozzy Osbourne, Center of Eternity, Run Out song.
I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you there. Let me stop you. I'm sorry. When did you guys start playing that? Because I got to give kudos to my boy Carlos Garay. 1987, Rahway. I wrestled for Rahway. We started playing Journey to Center of Eternity, Ozzy, in 1987. We came out. So there's been a big debate who started that. Was that South Plainfield or Rahway? But I got to put that out there.
I was born in 1995, and I feel like I was being taken to high school matches right away. So it's been my whole life. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to have to hit some people up about that one.
Yeah, I got to get to the bottom of that. Who actually started that? Maybe it was just a coincidence. We both chose that. So
yeah, my dad started helping coach South Plainfield High School about when my brother was born, a little bit before. So he probably wouldn't know that answer either. I'm going to have to probably ask like Kevin McCann himself, maybe in high school, while he was in high school, if they started it or before then.
Good stuff. And for those who don't know, and I know you've talked about, so I think it's really cool talking about the brotherhood you built up and why you didn't go to Bishop Ahr and being part of Murderers Row. But South Plainfield tradition goes way back. I can start from me when I was younger, a guy like Steve Giordano, okay, who was a monster. I remember he had some big matches against Huli Chacon and Rahway. And just going through, you mentioned McCann, a guy I wrestled with my day, Chris Swaggart. And there's just, you go through the line, okay, Adam Kaplan, okay, Matthews, guys I knew. I think it's 51 individuals won like 80-something state medals for South Plainfield, this small working class town. I think you're absolutely right. So talking about that brotherhood you built in South Plainfield that goes all the way back to the 60s to this very day, even their youth program, the Central Jersey League, was fighting for a tournament title just yesterday. They were going head to head against Westfield. So just you talk about that history of South Plainfield. I think people don't really understand how in depth it goes and how far it goes back in South Plainfield. It's almost like its own little club. Yeah,
just to give perspective, we have a wrestling room that I grew up in starting my wrestling career. It's 4 full mats with bleachers on both sides, 4 full matted wrestling room with 4 scoreboards around the room. And you don't get that in college rooms. So we definitely took it for granted. I mean, not that we took it for granted. We trained hard and we trained consistent, and we loved it for the most part. But I don't think any of us knew that that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
For us, that was it. And the best thing about South Plainfield, the time I was growing up, is all the people you just mentioned. Adam Kaplan was coming to take our heads off when we were starting to mature in middle school.
Nice.
And all those guys you mentioned are names that are talked like the town is full of townies. That's what kind of town it is, a blue collar town. So it's like the names get thrown around, just like you're saying. That was our childhood. You get to high school and it's like they're throwing their careers at us, like back in my day.
Yep.
And that's just the kind of town it is. The older generation giving back to the younger generation. And I think right now the high school team isn't having their best performances and they're struggling a little bit, but I think it's going to come back full circle
They got some youth coming up.
because the same parents that you're talking about now have kids, and they're starting to question why are we having a downtime, and they're realizing the answers are pretty obvious because we need to be putting the time in with the kids. We need to be there.
Yep. So I'm going to read between the lines there to answer Chris Tonzola's question. It's really that it's his fault you did not go to Bishop Ahr, because Adam Kaplan, did a better job recruiting him to South Plainfield. And
Yep.
I'll tell you what, Kevin McCann, that guy has a lot for Rutgers wrestling. He's the reason I came to Rutgers. He was my host on my recruiting trip. So he showed me a good time, and I committed the next day. He has a lot going on there. So we're going to break this up into a 2-part series, but I think we'll end this on the last question, going to South Plainfield, then 4-time state champ. I know the whispers were going out there to say, hey, is Anthony coming to Rutgers? And obviously a big time recruited by all the big name schools. Let's end this first part with the question of what made you decide to go to Rutgers.
You hinted at it in the beginning, explaining things. I wanted to come, and all the things that all the nice things you said in the beginning of this podcast are most of the reasons I wanted to come to Rutgers. I wanted to be the first national champ, and I got to be the second, but I wanted to change kids' perspective on what Rutgers looked like in their eyes. I didn't want it to be a joke. I didn't want it to be where people went to fail, and in my eyes, it was like success, because I got to see my brother go through the program, and round of 12 is not how you want to end your career, but I felt like I saw my brother make so much progression and be in matches with guys that I didn't know if he was able to be in matches with. And then all of a sudden he's about to beat guys that were national champs, national runner-ups. And to me, I know it was around at 12 and it wasn't what he wanted to finish his career, but it opened my eyes to showing me, this coaching staff can get it done. They can get guys progressing from their high school career, from wherever they're at, and get them to where they want to get to. And, it didn't happen for a long time, and a lot of really close moments and really big letdowns with multiple years building up to that year Anthony Perotti finally broke through and took 8th for Goodale. And, I was a freshman that year, redshirt. But the reason I decided to go, just going back to the question, is I wanted to be the difference. I wanted to be New Jersey, that guy for New Jersey wrestling, and be a big part. I also wanted to bring recruits in with my time, not just for the future, for the present. I wanted to get guys that I knew were really good in New Jersey wrestling, guys like my roommate, Nick Irvina, that I was training with at Apex a little bit, and other guys like that to come along. And we had a pretty good recruiting class. We had me, Tyson Dippery, who's coaching now, a bunch of other guys that, had a big impact on our lineup.
Yep. All right. Awesome stuff, man. And we're going to get more into that in part 2 here. Make sure you tune into that episode. We're going to talk Rutgers winning that national title. Great to have you on, Anthony. Make sure you guys follow the show. Follow Anthony Ashnault on Instagram. Good luck for these Olympic trials, and we'll be back, guys.